Hey everybody, today we're going to be answering the question of what happens when you're planning your sprint and then you stumble on some ambiguity, something you're not quite sure about. And so naturally, the wonderful world of Agile tells us, like, well, maybe you should create a spike. But is that the best way forward? Today, we're going to be discussing this with Yimi. And so thank you, Jimmy, for joining us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like. And what do you think? Should we be using spikes, or is there some other techniques we should be using?
Yeah, that's a good question because spikes is interesting, and in general, bringing new stuff in is in general an interesting topic because it needs to be handled a little bit differently depending on what kind of work you do. So if you are working with a project, for example, what we are referring to then is a scope change, basically, that you're talking about. We discovered something new that we didn't have during planning, or something that we might need to discuss that takes more or less time. So then you have a different situation, rather than if you are in a continuous delivery. Like if you own a product and you have a product team and you're building from a fixed budget, and then you have more of a discovery, something that you feel that let's prioritize this one first, or these are changes that we want to make. So the first thing we need to consider then is this something that will affect some kind of decision? Do we need to have some kind of decision for this? And the second thing is, how big is it? So if you are in agile setting with a product team, then it's usually easy to decide if we want to do it or not. Does it have enough value? Does it bring enough value so we can actually, or so we should break up our sprint or change our sprint mid-sprint? Or do we want to wait for the next sprint to actually implement it? So that's the first decision we need to do. And when you do those, the important thing is to understand what are we actually talking about and where did this come from? So if it is that we did not actually do our due diligence and we didn't figure this one out when we tried to do the requirement, and this is something it is an unknown that we discovered basically, then for me it is perfectly fine to bring that in as a spike, or maybe even just change the estimates of something that we have and then update a little bit. We discuss it together in the team and say, this is a better direction for what we are planning to do anyway. Let's just do it. But many teams want to track these because, well, one is we want to yell at our developers a little bit because they didn't think of it ahead of time. And the other is from a developer perspective, we want to show, listen, product owner, if you explained it better, we wouldn't be in this situation. Then we want to have some kind of tangible thing that we have. So it could be a spike in this case, or it can be that we have a new requirement or something.
So I've set up spikes kind of very similar to the way you described it. But my preferred method, and one of the ways that I've done it most recently, is I'm a big, huge top-down kind of guy. So we start with like a goal. We have some initiatives related to that goal. And then based on those initiatives, different teams are going to work on different capabilities or features or functionality for that initiative. But this is where the rubber starts to meet the road, where you're like, okay, so we kind of know we have a feature that belongs to this software team, but we don't know enough yet to go build the stories and whatnot. And so what I then encourage the teams is like, have a status in the epic, right, above the stories. Have a status in the epic for like investigation, right? We're doing some R&D type of thing, and then create the spike. And so basically the epic should be the epic in a status of like, we're investigating, we're doing our research, with the spike as a child. At this point, we have not created any stories. We haven't committed anything to anything at this point, other than we're going to take a task, which is a spike, and we're going to explore a little bit because we know the requirement, or we know that there is a requirement. We don't know how good of a requirement it is, and we're going to go explore. And so that's usually how I treated the spike. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because what you're basically doing is you are using then a status or a task for the secondary process. Because the process that you're doing is the requirement phase, basically. You're saying that we have this idea what we want to build, but we haven't really broken it down, at least not to the point where we feel comfortable to commit to a deliverable for it, because there are too many unknowns. So I usually avoid having it in the workflow, but you put it on the epic, which is above the actual work.
Above, which is wouldn't impact the stories workflow.
Exactly, and that is very common that you do it because then you're using the epic more as a driver, as a process flow. So you're basically saying that we start with this investigation or discovery, and then we move into deliverables, and we have some testing phase, we have the release phase or something like that. That is basically you're dropping down a project flow, basically, and you make it into miniature one for a feature or for a deliverable. And I think that works really fine, unless you have conflicted ways of doing it elsewhere in the organization. But that is basically you lifting up the flow of the process to the epic level, and from that one you then, during the first and probably a little bit in the second also, when you start doing the development, you might find new things as you explore what you're supposed to do, as so then you will create new stories based on that part.
Yeah, but
uh,
this it does require you to be a little bit more mature though, right? Because you kind of
yeah,
almost have a lag. Like
yeah,
before you think you're gonna do the work, which might be 2 or 3 sprints down the road, you gotta be forward thinking to
yeah,
know we're gonna do something eventually, but we don't know yet what it is. But we need to invest in this sprint
yeah.
to start figuring it out. Now, is the responsibility on the developers? Should it be on the tech lead? Should it be on the product manager? Like who should be doing the investigation?
That is where the Three Amigos comes in. I don't
The
know if
Three
you have heard
Amigos.
of that. Yeah, the term. The
I just
Three Amigos
Donald
term
Duck
comes from,
and the
yeah, it's the
Disney Three
product owner.
Amigos.
Yeah, it's the product owner. It is the developer, someone that represent the developer, and you have the test. If you have a
Mm,
separate test, those three people should actually be involved. In some cases, when you have a lot of front end parts where you have the UI as a very important part, then you have four amigos because then design will be involved in that one as well. So, from a process perspective, it is the product owner's responsibility to figure out what should we have as a good idea, and he or she fetches that then from within the organization, from the customer, but also from the development or design teams, and just to fetch them in. And this is where usually it's a good idea not to have everything in your backlog, because then you have a ton of things in your backlog that may never become anything. So yeah, product discovery is a good choice to put all those things in there, or you have a separate space for it, a geospace for it. So usually when we did not have product discovery, it was common to have one Jira space for the actual work, and one when you had a product backlog, basically, where you put on all the good ideas, and you kind of use that one to feed into the actual development board. But yes, for me, uh, you need to separate. So the way you have it is that you have the Epic then as a driver for it, and sometimes you have a specific task for it. So some companies, I don't like when you have requirements in Jira, for example, because since I am a certified requirement analyst, I know there are certain requirements for the requirements, and Jira does not fulfill them. So you need to have them usually in Confluence or some other tool for it. But there are teams that like to evolve the requirements. So you can either have them as an epic, or you can have separate task for them, different workflow then for requirements. And the biggest challenge, regardless of which one you have, is that we need time to actually move from the developers, from the testers, from the designers, and from the product owner to actually evolve the requirements that you have, or the business needs that you have. And a lot of people forget to do that. So if you have that up on the epic level, sometimes the time can actually get lost, and you go like, we had all this capacity, why didn't we actually manage to do all of these things? And if you measure it, you might see that that's because we spent a lot of time inside this epic that we didn't actually log any time for, or we didn't really realize how much time we were spending on this sprint. So it can be, as long as you have the epic and you can log the time there for the task that you do, then it's fine. But other than that, it could sometimes be more visible to actually have it as a requirement task or an investigation task,
Yeah.
so you can
No.
actually track those times.
Now, the next thing I wanted to get your feedback on, because two things, and I think we kind of touched this in a previous video, right? Should you estimate this discovery task that you don't really know too much about, and how do you even think about estimating a task where you have no knowns. But second, and this might help answer the first question, one of my things that I like to put in my spikes is a set of fields that kind of contain the scope, because I have found that if you just give the engineers like go figure this out, like they're gonna try to end world hunger. Right?
Yes.
Like their natural habitat or natural intuition is to solve problems, and the bigger the
Yeah.
problem, the more excited they are, right? And so we cannot do that. So I try to like, what's the scope? What's the problem you're trying to solve? Like, what are the unknowns? Like, kind of refine it a little bit so that they, and then when they get the spike, they're like, okay, well, I got to kind of contain myself. So, thoughts, comments on that?
Yeah, and this is where we can actually borrow the ideas from design, the design side of things, because when you do design, you have no clue actually what you're going to do. You have your scope, like this is the visual that we want to try to get, but you don't really know how to get there, or what you need to do, or how many tries you need to make, because design is different from writing code. It comes with a logic. Design does not. So the way you do that is you do not estimate based on how long do you think it takes you to complete it. You actually estimate based on how much time are you allowed to spend on it. So we time box it instead. And this is what you do with requirements as well. So you think about how long logically would it take for us to discuss this one? Is there a lot of people that needs to be involved in the decision? Are there a lot of areas to fetch the requirements? Are we mature enough to even have the conversation? And then you set, this should only take 4 hours, for example. If it takes longer than that, we probably need to adjust it, but we time box it to 4 hours. And this is also where it is important to remember that we have this tendency. So if we do give them long estimates, we tend to fill it with nonsense if we have to. So it has to be that it is realistic and not just arbitrary big. So that is also a trick when you decide on how long should we spend on making requirements. And one thing that is also a lot of people forget is that requirements, the time you take to actually discuss how or what we want to do, cost money. And a lot of people forget that. So we actually need to put a value on it and a cost on it, because if we're discussing, let's say I bring up in our steering meeting, you and me, Alex, we're sitting there and I say, you know what? I think a great idea for our company who do t-shirts would be to sell camels in Saudi Arabia. And you go like, you know what? I'm not even going to spend 5 minutes discussing that because it's a stupid idea. You can already say that this would take a whole lot of time to discuss. The value is not there. So let's just cut it directly. And this has to be when you are discussing changes in a product, for example, or even projects. Is the value that we are even trying to discuss worth the initial cost of even exploring what we should do?
Mhm.
Because that's actually the second toll gate that you have for budget discussions when you want to build something. So the first one is on idea, the second one is when you have a business need, and the third one is after the requirement is actually done. Should we even do it now?
Absolutely. Now, one last question here on the spikes before we kind of wrap things up. What kind of statuses then should the spike have?
Yeah, and that depends a little bit. If it is a spike in agile sense, then you should probably follow either safe or whatever methodology you have for the spikes, because they have different statuses that
Like
they
a
have.
predetermined, okay.
Yeah, but it depends a little bit on also how much, because remember, a workflow in itself need to have any value. Otherwise, you're just state diagramming something, and that doesn't add any value for it. So the question is, what do we actually want to achieve by moving it to another status? And in this case, for me, the most natural will be the process steps. So basically the discovery phase, where you actually dig into and seeing that what is it that we actually think that we want to do in this one. And then it will probably be implementation or development. And then it depends a little bit if you have testing already in the team or not, then otherwise test will probably be there. The status I don't like, that I don't think have any meaning whatsoever in a workflow, is rollouts or deployments and stuff like that, because they are not related to development. They are what happens afterwards.
Mm.
So I just want to avoid having those.
Yeah, I think in
And
another
that I'm
episode
good.
we need to talk about the full life cycle, software
Yeah,
development life cycle, and how they flow into Jira.
yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's our conversation on spikes. Again, whether you use them or not, maybe this episode inspired you to maybe at least consider them, because I do find value in spikes. I think when you use them correctly, like anything else in the wonderful world of Jira and Agile, when you use it correctly, it's very valuable. When you abuse it, then it's just an arbitrary thing at that point. So, thank you, Yemi, for joining me, and subscribe and share with your colleagues and coworkers. We'll see you in the next one.